Hey, what's up? It's Jose with another YouTube video. Right now, because I don't have my frame done up and I'm doing a lot of prepping and cleaning and just overall planning, I figured I would start to take apart some of the wiring components that I won't be using and so I want to resell. For example, one thing that I'm planning to do is just resell these switch housings with all of the indicators and switches on there. So hopefully I'm able to really just kind of make a little money off of it. But what I don't want to do is just clip all of the wiring off the wiring harness clips. And so I've been going slowly, piece by piece, depinning them, and I've had some success for the most part, taking apart all of the wiring components from these clips. And one example that I have actually that's already cleaned up and done is for the right hand signal. So as you can tell, all of these have been taken apart and individually depinned and unclipped. And they're all still intact in really great condition. So hopefully you can see that there. This is the headlight housing. All of the wires fit in here, sandwiched behind the light. And what I've been doing is taking apart piece by piece each one of these little wiring harness clips. The ones that I have had the most success with are these ones that have just kind of a straight pin. I don't know what they're called. Not an expert in this. By no means am I going to give you a full detailed guide on how to actually undo each little piece, but I think it's helpful in case someone is struggling or thinking about undoing a wiring harness component. All right, I'm going to do my best to keep it all in frame, but again, just going to be focusing on what I'm doing and try to highlight what I think is relevant or important or useful. These have been kind of the little pins that come out. So hopefully you can tell here, but as I turn this around, there's this little clip right there that pokes out, that metal nib right there. And that's what actually is retained inside of the plastic housing. And some of these have these little pieces that connect the two together so that they're, I guess, sequenced. But again, you can see that when these go in, they'll actually retain themselves inside of the plastic housing. And so when you go to remove them, it's kind of hard to just tug at it, because what's happening is that little nib that I just kind of pointed out is held into the plastic housing. So what I've been doing, and has been pretty simple, was I got a flat little tool which was part of this depinning kit that I got, and have been just pressing into it the little metal piece there. So hopefully you're able to see here. As I push that in and then pull the wire out. So that's an example of one right there. Again, all of these have their own particular sequence and connections. They're all meant to go with their components. Obviously this one here would probably fit into this, and so there's a matching wiring component that would then plug into this piece. And the wiring diagrams that are available online or through the climber books or your service manual books will probably have a little bit more detail than I'm providing here. But this is an example of something that you might be replacing if you're maybe doing your own custom harness, or if you're kind of figuring out or troubleshooting where there might be an issue and how to take that apart. So again, like I mentioned, there might be these little pieces here that are connected internally together. And as you can tell, maybe in this little bag here, I'll pop it out. It is possible to just remove these little metal connecting pieces. And the way that I did that, and I'll show you here, I'll do my best, is by, again, simple pushing and pulling. It sounds simple, I guess, but it may be a little more work. So I'm going to try to go for this purple wire here. No particular reason other than to just get it out. And so what I've been doing is kind of getting a little leverage into the plastic clip and then pulling up on it and trying to just ease my way up and out without completely destroying the wiring connection. And once I get a little opening down low, which is something you might be able to see as you kind of rotate the wires or move them around, you might be able to actually press into that little nib that I mentioned earlier and then push and pull from the back end and try to get it so that it pops out of that plastic housing. So I've been twisting these just to get them in the right spot where I can actually get a hold of that little nib and then pushing it back into the little wiring harness connector. Now that it's laying flat, been pulling them. And so as you can tell there, I just took out the purple one and now there is a purple, darker purple connection with that little metal in there. So the next thing would be to, again, continue to rotate the wire and try to find or identify the location of that nib so that I can take it apart. It's just kind of patience, I guess. The purpose for me to do this is, again, I want to see kind of how it all is put together. I'm trying to figure out what is necessary, how some of these components go. I've never wired a bike before. I also want to just kind of get a better understanding of how some of these pieces work. And so that's really the purpose of me just kind of messing around with this. No other real reason, because I don't plan on reusing much of the wiring harness that was off the bike. The whole purpose that I'm going for is to simplify the wiring, and so it might just be a matter of buying some connectors and some 16 gauge, 14 gauge, 12 gauge wires and then build out my own without any of the extra fluff. All right. There you go. So there's that little clip that was holding it together with the other purple one. All of this is pretty simple to kind of get to once you pull it off the bike. Definitely would be a lot more difficult if it's just sitting on top of or the front of your bike. So yeah, you know, again, I'm not an expert. I'm not giving you anything new that maybe you haven't seen before. Just giving you a little insight into what it's like to maybe troubleshoot a little area of issue. Sometimes you'll see actually some buildup in here where it might actually be creating an issue with your connection. And the wiring harness that usually is in the back of the climber will have you know, a very clear example of what each wire, what color goes to what. So here's my climber, 86 to 1990. And so as you can tell, all of these have, you know, a very clear direct line as to where each piece goes. And so, you know, again, you can figure out what goes to what, and that's pretty helpful, again, when you're trying to figure out what's ultimately needed, what's necessary, what's important, and then maybe what's not so important. It all depends, and all of these have a purpose for the most part. And so if you're trying to eliminate pieces and you're trying to figure out what do I want, what do I need, some of these are going to give you a pretty clear indication of what they are and how they work. And so I've just kind of been doing a little research, a little reading, and it's been helpful for me to understand what the concept is of some of these pieces, just because that's how I learn. And so as I clear all these out and figure out what they are, I'm able to then, again, figure out how much of this I actually need or want. So if you like these types of videos, if you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm relatively new to motorcycles and working on motorcycles and just trying to figure it out as a new rider. So I want to learn and showcase what it's like in case you're interested in doing stuff like this. So if you like this type of stuff, consider subscribing to the channel. Just trying to showcase what it's like for a newbie to pick up some basic hand tools and try to figure it out themselves. Because yeah, I was a newbie myself, and I thought, man, how does someone just know how to do that stuff? And oftentimes it's literally just by trying to figure it out yourself, by looking online and looking for resources and looking to see if other folks have done it before in the past. And oftentimes the answer is yes. So it's just a matter of doing it yourself. Again, consider subscribing, like the video, and add a comment down below if you have any questions. Really appreciate any sort of engagement. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the month, which is just a few days away, and so hopefully I'm able to do that. Again, you just saw me undo this full switch housing. For the most part, it wasn't a large or a huge task. It literally is just a matter of patience and trying to get it all sorted out so that you can reuse it or troubleshoot it or figure it out and fix it yourself. So again, plenty more to see as I kind of get down the line on this chopper build, but really wanted to just show that because I think it's pretty cool and I've learned something new, and I figured I'd share what that looks like. So the last thing left on this is just this main wiring harness here. Like I mentioned, I got this little depinning tool from Amazon, pretty simple setup. The purpose of them is so that these fit wherever you might have some female ends to clasp down on the wiring that goes through into the plastic housing. Again, similar concept where it will latch into the plastic housing off this little nib that's coming from the back of the wire, and then that goes directly into this plastic housing. The issue that I had was that it actually wasn't squeezing that female end very well, and so what I did was I actually just kind of pinched the end of this, and so far I haven't had too much of an issue, but it goes in, and then as I twist and try to put a little pressure, I pull on the wire that I'm working on. Hopefully that's enough to then release that nib from the plastic housing. So it's just ever so slightly pinching that. Again, trying not to squeeze this little tool too much so that it doesn't go in, but enough for it to get that metal piece squished. So there it is. Yeah, so this one has, let's see, I just did 2, 4, 6, 8, so 8 total wires on the back of this plastic housing, and so I'm just going to run through that and try to get them all squared away and taken apart. Again, patience is probably going to be your best friend, so if you don't have patience for this, just get some wire cutters, I guess, and clip it. There it is. All right, so there you go. Again, these little tools pretty helpful, even if they're just kind of used as picks. Nothing fancy. I think this pack was like, I don't know, 10 bucks, or might be even cheaper, might be a few more dollars. Again, I kind of abused this one a little bit just to get it to work, but I have more. They literally sent like a ton of these, so I can figure out how to use them down the line. Again, here's that housing again for the lighting, and then here are the wires for all of the main harness components. Let's see if I can pull you off the tripod here. All right, so yeah, you go from here all the way to the ignition switch wires, coil wires, horn, to the breakers and some of the bigger fuses, And then again, these are all already separated. So this one is that one. This one is that one. Yeah. All kind of laid out, simple to work on. And then the ones that I'm going to pull out of the main wiring harness, again, I want to try and maintain some of them because I'll reuse them, but it'll be easier to fish them through this main loom here, and I don't have to worry about cutting pieces apart. And all of these pieces, just undo the little nut on the end. So again, try to minimize cutting wires or losing track of stuff. So again, that's it. Thanks again for watching. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll keep you posted as I move along on the project. Bye.